Hey, everybody. My name is Julie Agnew. I am your Flawsome AF mentor, success and self leadership strategist, and am super excited to welcome you to another episode of How She Owns It, the self leadership edition. On this episode, we have the very fabulous Kayla MacDonald, who is the Food Freedom and Embodiment Guide. I am hoping that I've got that correct. But I would love to hand across to you, Kayla, for you to let everybody know who you are, what you're all about, and share a little bit about what you do as well.
Yes, thank you for having me, first of all.
You're welcome.
So, I am an author, host of the Embodied Writing Warrior podcast, and I am a health coach gone rogue. So, I spent 8 years in the personal training health coaching field, and I loved so much about the job. And I also found there were a few really problematic things, including my own unhealthy relationship with the industry. So it created a lot of my old habits coming back, binge eating, low self-worth, struggles with my body image. And it was after leaving the health coaching field and learning more about the inner world and spiritual healing and somatic work. And I realized health coaching is amazing to a point, but for so many people, they know how to eat, they know how to train, and they're struggling with more of the inner things that are keeping them from knowing what to do, but then not executing. So now that is what I am so passionate about helping people with, transforming their relationship with food, with body image, with self-worth, but doing it from a place of creativity, imagination, inner wholeness, and making it fun and playful because I think that's what's missing in a lot of the health coaching space as well. So that's me.
I love the gone rogue bit. Like that was just, I was like, that sounds fabulous. And I think we need more people to go rogue, don't we? And actually do things
Yeah,
differently. And like you say, I think the more fun that we can have with whatever we're doing, we're going to stay on that journey and that path for much longer because we're actually enjoying it and having fun. And I do think whether it's in work, whether it's in our personal lives, and obviously development and all of that, if we're not enjoying it and it's not fun, it can feel tough, can't it? And as though we don't actually, why are we even doing it in the first place, almost because we're not enjoying it.
exactly.
And I would love you to share what self-leadership means to you.
Self leadership looks like to me being the embodiment of what I help other people with. So it's being the same person behind closed doors that I am out on a podcast or creating content. I think that being the embodiment of your own work and then that being almost a leading by example is what that really means to me.
That sort of resonates so much with me because I'm very much I like it's really important to me that I walk my talk, and I think that that's what you're saying as well is being the embodiment of your work. It's leading by example, and so I do think that's really important, particularly in the coaching world, because there are coaches and mentors and leaders out there that just tend to give orders or instructions or say, this is how you do it, follow this process, but then they don't necessarily understand what that looks like, what it feels like, or how that actually is. And I think it's very different when you've walked that path yourself and you're actually doing it, because I think you can understand people on a much, much deeper level. Do you agree?
I agree, yes. And one of the things I believe in that I do for myself and then aim to do for anybody that I come into contact with is seeing every human as unique and individual and really finding ways to crack a person's own code, if that makes sense. So that's the work that I believe in. And then I believe that each person has their own code to crack. So that's why I call myself more of a guide than a coach, because I really want to guide people to their own wisdom and their own breakthroughs because they're so capable of creating them.
Yeah, and I think for me, again, I resonate with that because I think it's really important that somebody owns their own journey because whilst they're going through it, they get to own that path, the growth that they're experiencing, but then it feels so much better for them as well that they can own that. And it's the messy, it's the middle bit that isn't perhaps as fun or as sparkly because doing the inner work can be really messy and dirty, can't it, as we're going through it. But coming out the other side of that, it's powerful, it's magical, and it's life-changing. And I think if they are owning it all, they get to then truly actually really appreciate, wow, like I did that, I can celebrate it. And that's a really, for me, I so love seeing somebody being able to do that, actually look back and think, I did that. Like that's what I did. And they can really, really own it.
Absolutely, yes. I think when people have their own buy-in, their own breakthroughs, and they've really taken that ownership for their transformation, that's what tends to make it stick. And also that's what makes it feel so much better.
Yeah, and I love you saying that they're gonna crack their own code. That's that's a cool thing and a cool way to think about it. Um, so I know from chatting to you back and forth and from you sharing details with me, you've got a super powerful story to share. So I would love it if you would share that because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but that shaped how you choose to lead and guide other people perhaps as well.
Yes, absolutely. So I struggled with food, with my body from a very young age. So about 6. Had some pretty challenging things happen to me at that age. And that was when I started to sneak food, put on weight, started to binge eat all the things. And that was really what took me on my personal development journey to start with. And I did so much healing work in this area. And then I was like, I want to help other people do this. Personal training is the place to do it. And I was so excited. I got my dream job. And again, that's where a lot of my challenges started to resurface. And I realized there was definitely another layer of healing that needed to happen. And also another layer of reclaiming who I really was and what I really wanted out of life. So I left the personal training industry and again went on this journey to learn more about the inner world. And it was through doing this inner work that I really found the places I actually had to heal. And that was the low self-worth. It was a lot of the inner conflicts that came from these unhealed parts of me. And in doing all of this work and putting all of this together, I created something that has really helped me transform my relationship with food, with business, all the things. And I do it in a way that's very creative, very playful, and really feels more like a spicy book talk novel than a like the traditional inner child healing, which can feel a little bit like babysitting. And one of the most powerful things here has been actually starting to talk about this and come out of the closet and share it because it is so unique and it's so dear to my heart because it's helped me so much. And I know that some people are going to think it's weird or not understand it, all the things. But I also know it's so important to share this because of how much it's helped me. And that's the work I'm doing now. And along the way, throughout everything I've been through, the struggles with, you know, creating, basing my self-worth on external metrics and trying to prove myself and perform in one area, I realize at the end of the day that self-trust is the ultimate KPI. And that's what I really chase now is, am I keeping the promises I make to myself? Am I being authentic? Am I actually creating the life I want, or am I creating the life that has been expected of me by others?
I've written down here because you shared that with me. Self-trust is the ultimate KPI, and I've written it down because that stuck with me, and I thought that's a really great way of kind of summing it up. Um, and I totally agree that the inner work is so, so important. And for me, I think it's more important than taking any external action initially because I know, and I'm sure you know, with the work that you've done on yourself and with your clients, which is the same for me too, when we develop and look at and heal and deal with the stuff that is going on inside. I call it inner strategy. When we do that, and then we pair it with the external actions, that's when just it goes like things supercharge, results explode, and things I think tend to become a bit easier as well because we trust ourselves more, we are owning our own worth, and so we're not relying on the external validation to make decisions or to celebrate ourselves. You know, we're not waiting for somebody else to clap for us or celebrate us. You know, it's just it's a crazy, crazy world, I think, but such a powerful world when you think actually we just looked inside and did more of that, the outside stuff would just it's just inevitable, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes. I definitely agree that that inner work first is so foundational. And then oftentimes when you go in and do that inner work, then the external world around you starts to shift because of that inner work you've done. It's the difference between the hero's journey versus the heroine's journey. And I've just always loved that distinction.
Would you mind just sharing more on that for anybody that's listening? That
For sure. So the hero's journey is very much about the external. So the person has the goal, they go and get the goal, whatever it is, but there's really no inner shift along the way. Meanwhile, the heroine's journey, the heroine does that inner work. She goes within, she heals her self-worth, she does all of that. And then she finds that as a result, the world around her starts to shift because depending on how much you believe about energetic, she becomes an energetic match for a different life and a higher standard of living.
Yeah. And again, I can resonate with so much that you're saying, and it's great to have a conversation with somebody that I feel like you've got the same thoughts, and obviously you're probably doing very similar work, but we're in different industries. But for me, I know that when we raise our self-worth, our net worth has to raise up because we are showing up in a different way. And you're right, the energetics shift because we are showing up in a way that we are showing others that we value ourselves. And it is a different energy. And it's almost like they're looking in and they're like, wow, like if she sees herself like that and that's how she's treating herself, then I'm gonna have to move to match her. And I feel like everything does move to match us on that different level. People respect us in a different way. People listen to what we have to say. Money finds us because we've removed blocks that were perhaps in the way, or opportunities find us because we've cleared out some of those blocks that were previously we were here and the block was here, that things can't find us because they can't get through, can they? They can't sort of penetrate. So I do resonate with so much of what you've just said. And I've never heard it described as the hero's journey before and the heroine's journey.
I can't remember where I first heard this distinction. I think it was on someone else's podcast. I wish I could remember.
Well, this is why it's good to actually have these conversations, isn't it? And actually listen to podcasts and things because I think sometimes somebody will say something and it doesn't land or it doesn't resonate, but then you might say it and people listening to this might think, oh my God, like I've never thought of it like that. And that's a massive light bulb moment. And I think that's really powerful too.
For sure.
So, how would you say then you stay flawsome AF, which basically is embracing your flaws and being awesome anyway, and rooted in who you are? So, the authentic you, the one that owns her worth and everything about herself, when things are messy and when there are times where you're uncertain or things are shifting and the external things are happening that you can't control, how do you stay rooted in all of that during those times?
I believe in having a few keystone habits and practices that keep you solid during those times. So I have about 6 or 7 that I do daily, and they're basically my anchors regardless of what else is happening around me. That's the big one. Then the other one, by the way, I love that your name is Flossom. I have another friend who uses a similar phrase, and I just love it. I used to be someone who would not share the mess. I was like, "Nope, I gotta be professional. I gotta only share, the breakthroughs and the wins." And I realized that's not real. So what I've started to do is actually share more of my process when I'm in it, not from the place of, "Oh, I'm really in the wound. This really hurts." But, "Hey, I'm not all the way through it yet. Here's what I'm struggling and here's what I'm doing about it." So it's leading myself while I'm going through it versus waiting to have the shiny success story at the end instead of being that fully vulnerable, "Hey, I'm human too," and sometimes I still order Domino's and wish I didn't the next morning, right?
I so love that. And so for me, I've got the Flawsome Project. That's my sort of thing. So I'm glad somebody else has got something similar. But I think for me, I saw that word and it just things sort of clicked in that none of us are perfect. We've all got flaws, but they don't, or they shouldn't stop us from living a life that we want, a life that we've dreamed of, you know, getting and doing the things that we want. And I think it does stop so many people because they feel like these things aren't things that can be shared because they don't like them about themselves. And for me, I swear a lot. I can be loud. I can stumble over my words. I can be grumpy sometimes, but these things do make us human. And I think for me, just thinking that people that I look up to have been successful, but they must have things that they don't particularly like about themselves as well, but they haven't stopped those things from doing what they're doing. And if they can do that and I can be relate to some of those things like in the way that they share it, then surely the same must be true for other people. And I think sometimes we put people on pedestals, don't we? Like people that we look up to and think that they can't do any wrong or that they are perfect. And I think the
Mhm.
minute I started thinking about them as human and as humans, we're not perfect, it was almost like I went, like a massive pressure had been released.
Absolutely. I used to have the hardest time with this with mentors or people in the
Yeah.
entrepreneurial world that I thought were like way ahead of me. And I thought like their word was absolute because they had this many more followers than me and this and that. And then I started to think, again, it's about cracking your own code. So I look for what works from these mentors and then leave the rest. And then I also realize, yes, they might be ahead in like followers or certain parts of their business, but there's probably other aspects of my life potentially that they wish they could, you know, be at that place, right? So we're all human, we're all at different levels, we all have our strengths and weaknesses. And like you said, I think looking at people as human and trying to avoid that pedestaling is so important.
Yeah. And I love the way that you just explain that in that you've got these mentors and you look up to these people for different things, but the realization that you perhaps have strengths that they don't have and that you're maybe further along in certain areas and aspects of your life that maybe they were wishing that they were. That's a really good way of reframing it as well as remembering that they are human as well. So you've talked about sort of authenticity is very important to you and walking your talk. What do you feel is really important for other women to know about owning who they are, owning their self-worth, basically owning every single part of who they are?
I think the biggest thing is giving themselves permission to be all of them and remembering that they're not too much. They're not too emotional. They're not too intense. They're not too dramatic. They're not too ambitious. All of those things are positive qualities. And if anyone ever makes you feel like they're not, that's a projection on their end. So I think remembering that first of all, and then getting better and better at being your full self. And as someone who struggled with this, it's hard at first. It is. So doing it from a place of titration, like little bits, really helps. And that's something I've had to do over the last 2 months because I have, like I said, ideas that are unconventional. I knew they might raise some eyebrows. So I had to just put out one podcast episode at a time. And I'm like, I'm going to talk about this next, and I'm going to make a post about it, and then this and this. So it was kind of a week by week titration, and then letting the nervous system feel all the things, the body sensations, the tummy ache, the tightening in the chest, whatever comes up, and not trying to make it go away, but breathing into it and feeling it, and then realizing, hey, I felt that, I shared that thing, had the emotions, and I was okay. And then you retrain your nervous system that it's okay to be all of you. And it's okay to say the weird thing and worry about what someone's going to say. And over time, you get better at being you. So that would be my advice for women who are on this journey as well.
That's so cool that you've just shared that because I had a coach last year, and so I'm very similar to you, I'm a recovering people pleaser, so I've wanted to be liked by everybody and worn different masks probably and shown up as a version of me that I thought they wanted to see or they expected, and that might be I'm too much, so I maybe quieting myself down. But in other areas, I wasn't loud enough, so I got a bit louder, and it's exhausting, isn't it? It's absolutely exhausting. But then also throughout that, I was somebody that probably would squash down the things that perhaps I wanted to say because I didn't want to upset people or, things of that nature, and maybe squash feelings down. And she said something, and again, I think it's the way that sometimes someone says something that it just hits you in a different way. And she'd explained that feelings are emotions, they are feelings in motion. So they're meant to move. So that just landed really different with me because I just thought, oh, like, absolutely, actually, yes, like if we don't feel them, we can't move them, and they are meant to move through our body, aren't they? And then we can actually release them or choose to keep them or whatever it may be. But I feel like that's a little bit similar to, sort of what you were saying there, in that feel all the things, let your body experience it, and then you're retraining your nervous system. And that paired with the courage to actually do it in the first place is a really, really spectacular combo.
It absolutely is. And it works. I remember I came back from an event I went to and I made a post, and it was probably the edgiest post I've ever made. And I posted it and I clicked out of Instagram and I realized, oh my goodness, I feel fine. There's none of that activation of my nervous system. And that was probably one of the biggest wins I've had in a while because that was something that I struggled with for probably years, I would say.
Do you want to share something, one of these things that you've shared? Or is it's totally up to you. I know I realize I've just put you on the spot, but I just wonder whether it might inspire somebody else to do that as well.
So the post that I posted that was the edgiest one that I've ever posted, the title of it was Welcome to the Freak Show.
Okay.
And it said it was something along the lines of this is the only place on the internet where we turn why choose romance and sword crossing into a healing modality.
Okay.
So yeah, and then I went on to explain a little bit more in the carousel. But yeah, those are probably two of my most edgy ideas. And I made a post about it and I posted it, and that was it. And it was fine.
And you didn't die.
I didn't die. I didn't even get like an angry message from one of my past clients or someone who was indignant about what I was posting.
And sometimes I think that that's builds confidence in itself, because for me, confidence isn't something that we don't wait to build confidence. We do the thing, don't we? And then the confidence comes with doing it. And I think that is the same with, perhaps sometimes when we're changing the words that we want to share, when we're shifting our message and moving into another level of ourselves, we get a bit braver and then we're like, oh, different ideas come in, and then it still is scary. But the fear never leaves us. That I don't think fear ever leaves us. I don't remember a time when I've done something that was new and that was I'd not done before and I'd not felt scared. But I think we just have to get used to making friends with fear and taking it along for the ride. And sometimes shoving something in its mouth so it doesn't get so loud that we then don't do the thing. But yeah.
Yes, I 100% agree.
So, is there anything else that you wanted to share with the fabulous people that are watching that you haven't shared in this conversation? I've loved it, by the way.
Yes, I have too. Thank you for having me. I would say, just on the note of being your full self, feeling the feelings, that is what's going to attract the right people to you. And it's okay if not everybody likes you, because it's better to be fully liked by the people who resonate with you for your full self than be liked by a lot of people for your watered down self.
Definitely. And my phrase that people repeat back to me now is, you might not be everybody's cup of tea, but you are many people's glass of champagne. And I think it took
I
me
like that.
so long to get to that place. It's not easy, is it? To get to the place where you think, do you know what? It's all right if everybody doesn't like me. It takes a while and it's not easy, but it's very, very freeing and very, very powerful. And it frees up so much energy as well. So I love that.
Absolutely does.
So for anybody that's watching that is like, I want to follow Kayla, I would love to get some more of her wisdom and find her, where can they find you hanging out? Where can they come and find you?
I do hang out on Instagram at Embodied Writing Warrior, and then my website, embodiedwritingwarrior.com. You can find whatever I have going on, including my podcast, which has over 200 episodes at this point. So if you really want more Kayla in your ears, you can get hours upon hours upon hours.
That's fantastic. And for anybody that's watching that's thinking, oh my God, how am I going to remember that? I'm going to have to watch this all back to write it down. Don't worry, I'm going to link everything in the show notes as well. So if you are watching this right now, you'll be able to find all of her links and go and find her. And so we'll share all the links that you've just shared. I will share in the show notes as well for people.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me. I've loved the conversation. I've had personally several insights that I know I'm going to take with me. And I think cracking your own code, I love that. And I love personally as well, self-trust is the ultimate KPI. I'm all about self-trust too. So I feel sure that anybody that's watching is going to have absorbed so much as well and just be able to take it into their lives and then obviously come and find you and find more of you. So. No props. So, thank you so much for watching. I have really loved it. I hope you've loved this episode as well as much as me with Kayla. We will be back with another. I'm stumbling over my words. See, I'm not perfect. We will be back with another episode very, very soon. But for now, like I said, I hope you've enjoyed it. Sending lots of love, and I will be back and see you soon.